Hey everyone, and welcome. You ever think about prayer as a kind of journey, a really profound spiritual one? But just like any trip you might take, you can't just show up. You need a ticket. And without that ticket, the journey can't even get started. So today, we're going to break down the 6 essential conditions that make up that ticket for a valid prayer, all according to the Hanafi school.
So what is this travel ticket we're talking about? What are the absolute non-negotiable things that have to be in place before you even start praying? Well, let's dive in and find out.
All right, here's our pre-flight checklist for this journey. We're going to start with the absolute bedrock, purity. From there, we'll get into the proper attire and, making sure you're facing the right way. And finally, we'll turn inward to what might just be the most important piece of the puzzle, your sincere intention.
Okay, first up, the foundation of purity. And this isn't just one thing, it's actually 3 conditions rolled into one. It's all about preparing a clean vessel, your body, clean clothing, and a clean space for this sacred meeting with God.
So these 3 pillars, they really all work together. You need a pure body, pure clothing, and a pure space to pray in. Just think of it like you're creating this special sacred environment, both on the outside and the inside, so your prayer can even be accepted.
Now here's where it gets really interesting, because there's a distinction in what purity even means. There are actually 2 kinds. First, you've got ritual purity. This is about cleansing a state of spiritual impurity, and you do that with Wudu or Ghusl. Then you have physical purity, which is, a bit more straightforward, just being clean from actual tangible stuff like dirt or blood, which you'd simply wash off.
And this statement from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, just drives the whole point home. Purification isn't just a suggestion, it's an absolute must. Without it, the prayer isn't even on the table. It's not even considered.
All right, so once we've got that foundation of purity all set, let's talk about how we prepare our physical selves. This part covers 2 key things, wearing the proper attire and making sure we're facing the right direction.
So this next condition is called Satr al-Awra. It basically refers to the mandatory requirement to cover specific parts of your body, what's known as the awra, while you're praying. And yep, this is another one of those conditions that makes the prayer valid.
So what exactly needs to be covered? Well, for men, it's the area from below the navel to below the knee. For women, it's the entire body, with the exception of the face and the hands. And here's an interesting point. According to the soundest opinion in this school of thought, a woman's feet are not considered part of the aura during prayer.
Okay, next, it's time to align our spiritual compass. This condition is all about setting the correct direction, which creates this amazing unified focus for worshipers all across the globe.
This is called istiqbal al-qibla, which just means facing the qibla, the direction of the Kaaba in Mecca. And get this detail is incredible. It's not just about facing the physical building, it's about facing that sacred space that extends from the Kaaba all the way up into the heavens.
But, what if you're not sure which way to face? The guidance here is actually super practical. First, if there's someone around, just ask. If you're alone, you make your best educated guess. That's a process called ijtihad, and you just start praying. Now, if you realize you were wrong while you're praying, no big deal. You just turn and continue. And even if you find out you were mistaken after you're all done, your prayer is still valid. And why is that? Because what really matters is that you gave it your best, sincere effort.
So, we've covered all the external stuff, right? The preparations on the outside. Now we have to turn inward for the final and, you could argue, the most important condition of all. That internal spark that gives the whole action its life, the intention.
And niyyah, the intention. It's defined as that internal resolve, deep in your heart to perform the specific prayer you're about to begin. And let's be clear, this is not an optional extra. It is a mandatory, a fard, foundational component of the prayer.
This powerful statement from the Prophet Muhammad, wow, it's really one of the cornerstones of Islamic teachings. It tells us that every single action is judged by the intention behind it. And that doesn't just apply to prayer, that applies to literally everything we do.
So what makes an intention valid then? Well, a few key things. Its location has to be in the heart, so you don't actually have to say it out loud. Timing is also crucial. It has to be there right at the very beginning of the prayer. It also has to be specific. You have to know which prayer you're performing. And if you're praying in a group, you also have to intend to follow the imam.
And that brings us to the end of our checklist. We've gone through purity of the body, clothes, and place. We've covered the aura. We've talked about facing the qibla, and we've set our intention.
All 6 parts of our essential travel ticket are now in hand.
So here's the bottom line. With these 6 conditions met, your ticket is validated. It's stamped. You've done the necessary prep work, and now, finally, the sacred journey of the prayer itself can truly, properly begin.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. We've been talking about all these conditions as, requirements, as a ticket for a journey. But what if we started to see them as something more? How does taking the time for this conscious, deliberate preparation actually change the experience of the prayer itself? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me today.